Ryan came to find me just after I'd finished dinner with a few clients. The sky was painted with pink dusk. I wobbled a nearly empty bottle of red wine in my hand, brain fuzzy, but still managing small talk. I've heard you're a generous man, John. Seems it's true. The wind lifted my long black hair, and as I stumbled down the steps, I twisted my ankle. John was just about to help me when 2 bodyguards rushed over and blocked him. Ryan. The clients saw Ryan standing behind the bodyguards and started stammering. I didn't need to look to know his expression must be terrifying. Get lost. The previously cheerful guys scurried off like mice with their tails stepped on. That's Ryan's ability. Even if he had nothing, just a look from him could send shivers down your spine, fear spreading from your head to your toes. But I wasn't afraid. I kept descending the stairs, humming a piano tune with my aching ankle. When I passed by him, he finally lost his patience. He grabbed my wrist forcefully and pulled me into an intense, out-of-control kiss. I just watched his face carefully. His movements slowly softened, and I heard a low chuckle close to my ear. A chuckle of self-mockery for losing control over a woman. My hand holding the wine bottle trembled. I thought, maybe I wasn't entirely fearless, but I had bigger things to worry about. Lisa, aren't you afraid of dying? Pulling a stunt like this? I knew he meant it. With his methods, he could make someone disappear without a trace, and no one would link it back to him. No one's tricks could match up to his. I had seen him send a crying woman demanding responsibility to the abortion clinic. Yet, it was him who got caught in my hands. I looked up slightly, meeting his gaze directly. I then realized Ryan's face was as composed and his eyes as cold as ever. Lisa, you better have a damn good explanation. He put one hand in his pocket and casually flicked the other, letting those white papers drift to my feet. The nearest contract had my signature on it, clear as day. Ryan, if I said I was tricked, would you believe me? I blinked, drunkenness overtaking me, and wrapped my arms around his neck, humbling myself. Really, I was deceived. After being with him for so long, I knew exactly how to please him, make him happy, and calm him down. So, I kissed him hard. Lisa, you'd better know your place and not test my patience. He took control, kissing me until I was almost suffocating, my hands clutching his shirt tightly. Ryan wasn't married, but I was his lover. I met him one summer evening 7 years ago, feeling the soothing sea breeze of Hoskins. If I hadn't stumbled into that strange rose garden and come Facito face, with a leopard already viewing me as prey, this trip would have been more enjoyable. I held my breath, seeing that the leopard, fully grown, was moving towards me slowly, with excitement, with arrogance. If I lost my nerve, I'd be dead. So, I crawled on the ground, arching my back, grabbing a rock, and flinging it at the leopard's head while screaming hysterically. My shrill voice made it doubt. Sure enough, the leopard stopped. Wary, I kept yelling, forcing it to hover between advancing and retreating, but I didn't expect the leopard to pounce. As it knocked me over and bared its teeth, I drew a knife and stabbed its side hard. Its eyes told me, if it didn't die, I would. After stabbing it for a while, the leopard collapsed beside me. I got up slowly, gasping for breath. That's when Ryan appeared in my view. He was in silk pajamas, holding a cigarette, walking barefoot across the sun-warmed gravel. Stopping in front of me, he had a very good-looking face, sharp and cold. Even his messy hair exuded nobility and aloofness. But the more beautiful something is, the more dangerous it often turns out to be. He called a name, and the leopard, near death, seemed to twitch. That's when I realized I hadn't just wandered into a leopard's territory, but his. He was the true owner here. In a mere instant, I diverted my gaze from him and licked my lips without saying a word. Sure enough, Ryan laughed, his voice rough like sandpaper. What have we got here? Interesting. I just stood up from the ground, despite being a mess, trying hard to fill my eyes with love at first sight. I said, hello, Ryan, I'm Lisa. He squinted, chuckled. Since you know me and still call me by name, you're quite the audacious little thing. I knew I had piqued his curiosity. Sorry, Mr. Ryan, for killing your pet, but you know, it was self-defense. He laughed again, and this time I met his gaze. In his eyes, I saw interest. He wasn't heartbroken over his pet. His expression was one of exhilaration, tinged with a strange curiosity. Since you know you killed my pet, stay with me from now on. That's when I realized he saw me as a new pet, something to amuse him, something he wouldn't care about even if it died. I just smiled brightly at him, walked across the gravel path he'd just tread, fetched the slippers, returned, and bent down to put them on for him. Ryan just raised a hand and touched the back of my head. I rubbed his palm with mine, and Ryan's expression made it clear he was enjoying it. Since then, I've become the only woman around Ryan, 24 hours a day, always on call, eating with him, sleeping with him, even working with him. Someone like Ryan, even if he didn't have a fortune, could make countless women go crazy just with his looks, but it's strange many wanted to be his lover, but the only one who succeeded was me. I think it might be because I'm gentle enough, obedient, observant, and good at reading the room, or maybe it's because I'm exceptionally competent. Whether as a secretary or a lover, I'm equally capable. This is also why no subordinate at Ryan's company can find a reason to mock my status, because before me, there were countless women trying to get close to Ryan through work, but most of them were just big-chested, brainless vases, nice to look at, but useless. Someone like Ryan, who was born at the top of the pyramid, how could he let these women hinder his empire dream of dominating the business world? As time passed, even Ryan's friends marveled. I can't believe Ryan has kept you around for so long. That was during the 3rd year I was with Ryan. I had been with him for so many years, and I'd never seen him troubled by work. After all, as a favored child of heaven, not only was he given a handsome face, but also a particularly clever brain, unlike me, who was forced by my parents to eat walnuts every day, just to barely keep up with Ryan's IQ and thinking speed. That night, he was sitting with his back to me on the mountains, watching the setting sun, his gaze sharp. He has always been restrained, and it was the first time I saw him chain-smoking non-stop. I simply walked over and put out the cigarette in his hand. As he was about to get angry, I leaned down and kissed him. The sweet peach scent from me drifted into his nose with the mountain breeze. He pressed down on my shoulders painfully, and I bit his lip hard. Ryan instinctively let out a muffled groan. As usual, I kissed his eyes. Due to a surgery caused by an accident, his vision at night had always been poor. That was the first time we got intimate on the mountain, and Ryan was clearly satisfied. Later, as he rubbed his temples, he realized he had fallen asleep on my lap, and saw that I had muted his phone. His brows furrowed, a layer of ice forming around him. I massaged my numbed legs and handed him the contract already signed by the investor. That time, I clearly felt that Ryan's gaze on me was different from before. It was a progressive emotion. Honestly, I didn't expect Ryan to actually keep me around for so long. Though curiosity is the beginning of a man's love for a woman, I knew that Ryan didn't love me, even though he gave me plenty of power and all the dignity a lover should have. He would gift me jewelry, brand name bags, and occasionally accompany me on so-called boring anniversaries when he was in a good mood. But I was always aware of my place as his lover, because I knew, if Ryan truly loved someone, it wouldn't be like this. I always thought someone like Ryan, apart from himself, wouldn't let anyone else touch his heart. But like how even a king cheetah has a weak spot, so does Ryan. I once searched her name on Wikipedia. The lengthy Wikipedia entry told me Nancy was an exceptional woman, so much so that her achievements couldn't all fit into one page. As for Nancy and Ryan's entanglement, I didn't need to pay attention. There were plenty of people with ulterior motives gossiping in front of me. They said various versions, but all of them boiled down to one sentence. Nancy was the only person Ryan let into his heart, the one he loved but couldn't have. Young, talented man, stunning beauty. It could have been a perfect story in others' eyes, but unfortunately, Nancy didn't love Ryan, she loved someone else, even breaking off with Ryan for that person, and in the end, met her demise. One of my close colleagues once told me, "Lisa, you know what? Your personality is really similar to Ryan's heart's desire." I just continued grinding coffee beans, making coffee for Ryan. Actually, it wasn't the first time I heard this. On Ryan's 28th birthday, he invited some friends to camp at Uzixi. That night, he was in high spirits. After I danced a traditional dance in local attire for his birthday celebration, Sean pushed him to my side. Under the indescribable starlit sky, he wrapped his arms around my waist and started dancing cha-cha. We had all drunk a lot of barley wine. Late in the night, I had a high-altitude reaction. My heartbeat irregular. He held me in his arms and didn't let go even when the doctor came. Ryan's chin was pressed against my forehead, unconsciously softening his voice to soothe me. "Lisa, if you dare get sick, I'll burn this place down." That was the first time he coaxed me, though he tried to sound gentle. To me it felt like a threat. My eyelids were heavy, and in my groggy state, I heard Sean teasing him. "Enough, Ryan, if you squeeze any harder, Lisa will choke." High altitude reaction or not, perhaps it was rare to see him like this. Sean sighed. It's the personality. Ryan, but Lisa isn't Nancy, she won't die. Ryan fell silent. The next morning, I survived and was back to my usual lively self. I thought, if only to preserve this beautiful land, I couldn't die. Then I realized, Ryan was no longer in the tent. I changed my clothes and walked out of the tent. From a distance, on the roof of the off-road vehicle, Ryan, wearing a thin shirt, was admiring the sunrise. His lonely figure was out of place with the vibrant red, but it looked as beautiful as a painting. I called out to him, and he gradually came back to his senses, still with a faint expression on his face, as if all the tension, softness, and confusion from last night never existed. After limping behind Ryan for nearly 10 kilometers, he finally stopped. I knew he was punishing me. I didn't know how much he believed when I said I was deceived, but I knew that someone like him would rather wrong the whole world than let anyone wrong him, even though it was just a dispensable business deal for him. Seeing him turn back and look at me, I ignored the pain in my ankle and quickened my pace towards him. Ryan, I'm sorry, I was too eager, thinking I could help you get that building project, help you make a fortune. The dim roadside lamp lit up his face, his dark eyes exceptionally bright. He slowly raised his hand and cupped my chin. Little thing, you've followed me so diligently for so long. I've never asked, what exactly are you after? Those who proclaimed their love for Ryan were either after his money or his status. They all had ulterior motives. So what about me? I've followed him for 7 years, being treated as a pet, always obedient and trying to please him in every way. I took a deep breath and smiled shrewdly. Of course, it's because you're handsome and rich, Mr. Ryan, even if I'm not your lover. Being your secretary means I can't lose. I even winked at him playfully. He wasn't offended by my flattery and shrewdness. On the contrary, he looked much better than when he appeared with 2 bodyguards earlier. Smart girl. He lit a cigarette, turned, and walked to the observation bridge. Out of his sight, I curled my lips into a sarcastic smile. The waves were churning, creating ripples. Ryan seemed deep in thought, not noticing the ash falling on his sleeve. I took off my high heels and walked step by step along the pebble path on the other side. I seemed to finally understand why Ryan liked to walk barefoot on the pebble path while deep in thought. Perhaps that extreme pain was the only thing that could keep someone clear-headed. Lisa, he hadn't finished his sentence when gunfire rang out, a bullet nearly grazing his face. Ryan just shielded me behind him, pulling a gun from his waist. Judging by his expression, he was already used to such situations. A black SUV sped past. Before I could react, a group of men in black sportswear, carrying iron bars, was approaching us. Little thing, don't be scared. Ryan, I'm not scared. In his pupils, I saw my determined reflection. His marksmanship was precise. I saw one man after another fall at my feet. Ryan effortlessly dodged left and right, never letting them touch his sleeve. I caught sight of the leader. Our eyes met. Then he quickly looked away. Ryan, I pushed Ryan with all my might, shielding him. When the bullet pierced my skin, my mind went blank, filled with a sense of resolve. Scarlet. It was the first time I heard Ryan call me that. Not the playful little thing nor the angry Lisa. I fell into his arms. Blood dripped through his fingers. I tried to smile at him. Ryan, do you regret not cherishing me before? He embraced me tightly, his shirt billowing in the wind. He held me so tightly, his expression darker than the night sky. Did you just want to break up with me? I'm telling you, unless I'm dead. His hands trembled, making me dizzier. Before losing consciousness, I heard Ryan whisper in my ear, Lisa, if you die, I'll make sure all of them accompany you in death. For some reason, I believed his words completely. There's a saying, great misfortune invites great fortune. When Ryan pulled me back from the brink of death, I realized his gaze towards me had changed. He began to treat me with the same unquestioning obsequiousness. Of course, provided I didn't touch his bottom line. So, when I saw the always ethereal President Ryan wrestling with an apron and a fish, I accidentally dropped the apple in my hand, laughing. Lisa, laugh one more time and see what happens. I won't, don't. I'm ticklish. What made it even more special was Ryan growing more reliant on me. He didn't bother reviewing many business deals and just threw them at me. This had me, still recovering, complaining about his capitalist exploitation. Of course, there were many other changes. He increasingly liked holding me while sleeping, because gradually, he no longer had nightmares. He no longer woke up suddenly, calling out the name Nancy in my ear in the middle of the night. I didn't know what that meant for Ryan, but I knew it was definitely a good thing for me. On the day I acquired Southern Enterprises, it happened to be my 29th birthday. I had been Ryan's lover for exactly 10 years. I handed the acquisition documents to Neo. He poured me a drink, giving me an amused look. "Lisa, I always thought you were like other women who thought I would fall genuinely for Ryan," I scoffed. From the day I approached him, I had only one goal, which is, the door suddenly swung open from the outside. Ryan walked in dressed in a suit. It must have just rained outside, because his hair was still wet. How rare to see someone like him looking so disheveled. His face was pale as he walked straight to me and grabbed my wrist. "Lisa, what on earth do you mean by this?" I pulled my hand back, my voice icy. "What do I mean? Ryan, you used to be so hung up on Nancy. You shouldn't have forgotten she also had a brother, right?" Ryan was silent, his eyelids twitching. Back then, you had feelings for Nancy, but she loved someone else. To get her, you broke that guy's leg and locked Nancy in your rose garden. She later escaped, and you had her killed in a hit and run." Ryan pressed his lips together, silent. "You didn't just kill her, you also killed her biological brother, Jack, and took over the company. A person like you doesn't deserve love." Ryan lowered his lashes, staring at me without expression. "They had their own happy lives, but because of your selfishness, you took that away." My eyes reddened. "The person whose corneas you took was also Jack." His voice was soft. "So, you liked kissing my eyes just because the corneas were his?" His Adam's apple bobbed, and his hands clenched into fists by his sides. "So, you stayed with me not for money, but for Jack?" I said. "Yeah, I liked kissing your eyes, because they have traces of him." "Ryan, someone like you doesn't understand love." A tear slid down my face. In my mind, memories of Jack flashed by. Jack and I were supposed to get married, then have a kid of our own. But all those beautiful dreams turned to foam because of Ryan. Our first love started young. He'd copied homework for me, and ID kept him company during detentions. He was my first love, and our love was mutual. The year Jack graduated from college, he joined his family's business. He was really busy at first and rarely had time for me. He'd said that if he secured the deal with Ryan, he'd marry me, but if is always deceiving. The renowned business magnate Ryan developed feelings for Jack's sister Nancy by accident. But Nancy didn't like him, she liked the drummer from a university band. Jack doted on his sister and couldn't bear to see her struggle. So he'd met with Ryan many times. The results were obvious. The day Neo came to find me, I was in a bridal shop picking out the wedding dress for Jack and me. I had also picked one for Nancy, because we got along well, being quite similar in temperament. Lisa, my cousin and my cousin's sister, people say they believe in telepathy, though I didn't before. Until that moment, when I kept tripping over the wedding dress, and felt a dull pain in my chest. I calmly handled Jack and Nancy's funerals. Everyone around was crying, but I couldn't. I felt my soul being yanked out, when I saw Jack lying there, motionless. I learned Ryan's name from Neo. 3 days later, I walked out of the cemetery, and booked a flight to Philly. Neo didn't initially grasp my intentions, he just patted my shoulder. "Lisa, it's good to get away for a bit. You're still young, and you've got a lot of life ahead." They said Nancy and I were alike, but we weren't. I was fiercer, harder on myself. She might gamble everything for love, but I wouldn't. If I had to burn myself like a moth, I'd do it to make Ryan pay. Gaining Ryan's trust was harder than I'd imagined. Before arriving in Philly, I'd collected all usable info on the flight. Yet, he was more frightening than I thought. In his rose garden, he kept a leopard. When it lunged at me, the thought of survival was the only thing keeping me standing. Actually, my legs were shaking then, but it also gave me a lucky chance to attract Ryan's attention. After leaving Philly, Ryan kept me by his side. I was compliant and gentle, only to make him let his guard down. Once close to him, I realized Jack was right about Ryan being ruthless. The first time I kissed Ryan, I locked myself in the bathroom and puked for half an hour. But thinking of Nancy and Jack, I practiced over and over until my acting became skilled. Most of the time, I only kissed his eyes. In daily interactions, I sensed his feelings for me changing, but I knew it wasn't enough. Later, I used the opportunity of securing a case to test him. A man like Ryan couldn't be easily beaten. He wouldn't trust anyone lightly. Sure enough, he brought bodyguards to break up with me. I wasn't going to give up easily after all these years. Neo and I had long planned a hero rescue scene. I took a bullet for Ryan, and he finally trusted me completely. "Lisa, did you?" Before he finished, he muttered to himself, "No way, I underestimated you." I raised my face, expressionless. I told Jack I'd have made a great actress if I hadn't chosen another path. In his dark eyes, I saw a flicker of anger. Just for a moment, a hint of broken indifference flashed in his eyes. The despair on his face belonged to the kind that women who loved Ryan but couldn't have him talked about. A rare sight in a lifetime. He curled his lips into a cold smile, gave me one last look, and turned to leave. He was practically fleeing. It was finally over, and I let out a breath of relief. Sitting in the chair, Neo, who had been watching the whole scene, shook his head and said, I really didn't expect him to actually fall for you. I wasn't surprised that Sean came to block me at the airport. Knowing Ryan, he would have sent his bodyguards to tie me up and bring me back for severe punishment. That's more his style. After all, I made him lose a few billion for nothing. Sean squinted his eyes. Lisa, you're a scary woman. They say proximity to red makes you red. Proximity to black makes you black. It's not surprising that being around Ryan for so long would have some influence on you. Sean still had a stern face. Ryan got stomach bleeding because of you. I pulled over my suitcase and looked at the people coming and going in the airport. They all knew where they were headed because they had someone waiting for them. But me, when Jack left me, I became a lone bird, unable to find my way back. Hair's sick, you should find a doctor, not me. Sean's tone was harsh, and he made a move to grab my suitcase. Lisa, that fool really fell in love with you. But I don't love him. No sooner had I said this than I saw Ryan standing in the crowd, walking toward me. He just smiled, eyes fixed on me. He was still the high and mighty Ryan, but I knew he was different now. I retrieved my suitcase and walked away. The last thing I heard was Ryan's low voice telling Sean, let her go. I didn't look back, even though I didn't know where my journey would end. But this time, I felt peace inside. Watching through the window, a plane took off while another landed. I clutched the pendant around my neck. Jack, I believe someday we will meet again. When that time comes, you'll be wearing the wedding dress you loved most, running to you without hesitation. Ryan Extra. Hearing the approaching footsteps, I lifted my head. The moment our eyes met, a feeling I had never experienced surged within me. It was like a blade ruthlessly cutting into my wrist, torturously painful but not lethal. Actually, this wasn't an unfamiliar feeling, but recently it had become more suffocating. Ryan, do you still think Lisa will come to see you? Logan picked up the phone, clearly agitated, especially when he saw me slowly raising my handcuffed hands. My gaze still fixed on the distance. He cursed lowly. Ryan, even though the situation is terrible now, I can. Proud and confident as he was, he finally realized the severity of the problem. It's no use. You know, she prepared for 10 years just for this moment. More so, the evidence was conclusive. In the eyes of the law, no matter how much money I had, it would be futile. For the first time, I felt weary, but more prevalently, a sense of laughable disappointment. Logan fell silent. I heard the dull thud of handcuffs hitting the table after a long while. Logan asked, Ryan, do you regret meeting her? Separated by the phone, his question echoed in my ears. I just gazed past him, my eyes resting on the ticking clock beyond the iron bars. Perhaps the old me would have scoffed at such a question, but now, although I firmly believed I never regretted, every single night after Lisa left, I repeatedly had a dream. I dreamt of standing before the cold-eyed Lisa, asking in a low voice, why am I not Jack? And she would just shake off my hand, leaving me with her back. Countless times, I woke from those dreams, staring into the endless dark night, reaching out only to grasp nothing. Since childhood, I was groomed to be a king, always with an aura that made me disregard anyone. But around me, there were always countless people maneuvering, striving just to gain my slightest attention. I only found them dull. I knew their intents even without words. Just from their smiling faces, I could tell what they wanted. I was adept at weighing pros and cons, understanding my own ambitions, and mastering the art of manipulating hearts. As for the so-called love that others relished wildly, it only made people foolish. So, I never had anything I couldn't obtain. But life is often laughably ironic. I fell in love with Lisa, uncontrollably, hopelessly, unlike Nancy, who was like the sunshine everyone yearned for. Beautiful and pure people loved her, so I believed I could have her. But at most, it was just a sense of self-satisfaction, even if I ultimately couldn't obtain her. It didn't matter, maybe my emotions would just slightly waver for a brief moment. Lisa was different. To this day, I refuse to admit her significance to me. But denial doesn't negate existence. When she fearlessly schemed against my cheetah, when she boldly invaded my territory, I could feel my blood boiling. She intrigued and excited me. Initially, that was all I thought. I had my suspicions about her. Her appearance was too coincidental. But I've never believed in coincidences. Too many coincidences are man-made, just given a different name for the sake of some unspeakable reason. But Lisa was too direct. From the start, she plainly told me she was after my money, even though she was materialistic. Strangely, I didn't mind. In fact, I gradually let my guard down around her. People who can be honest about their desires are often the easiest to control. But I lost. If keeping her around at first was for fun, over time, I grew to admire and trust her more and more. I even believed she was the first person in the world who was my equal. Time proved this true. People say Ryan is ruthless to everyone, but Lisa was even more ruthless. Logan said Lisa went to Africa alone to find the witness I had sent away. She almost died in a landslide, just for a piece of evidence that could send me to jail. And I, just hearing she almost got hurt, felt my heart tremble. She spent 10 years growing roots in my territory, finally becoming an unstoppable force. The day she revealed the truth about staying by my side, I fled in panic, completely defeated. My first thought was wanting to strangle her, but that lasted only 2 seconds before a single voice remained in my head. I couldn't bear to hurt her. I couldn't do it. Anger, embarrassment, disappointment, heartache, unrequited love, emotions that had always been foreign to me. I experienced all because of her. Maybe I was too arrogant. Maybe Lisa was too good at hiding. Or maybe love really does make fools of us all. She meticulously planned every step, leading me from initial hesitation and doubt to ultimate commitment. Unexpected, but completely logical. Caught off guard, it figures. Her patience surpassed her disguise. Otherwise, I couldn't have missed a single flaw in 10 years. Sure, a large part of it was my overconfidence, assuming she loved me. Until I showed up at the airport, I still fantasized. Maybe all of this was just a nightmare. When I woke up, Lisa would still be the girl always clinging to me, belonging only to me. If she dreamed it, she'd come back. In reality, when she left, I knew her revenge on me wouldn't be that simple. She was always a smart woman, and even though Logan used force, he couldn't bring her back to me. 3 months later, all my funds were frozen. She spent 10 years gathering evidence just to leave me penniless and ruined. But she didn't let me die all at once. Instead, she sent increasingly damning evidence over time, ensuring I couldn't escape. From bankruptcy, to police investigation, to sentencing, and finally the death penalty. People say a single fatal blow is the worst, but worse is repeated, bone-deep agony, like a slow poison, not ending your life quickly, but doubling your suffering. And I still hope, at least before my execution, that she'll come see me one more time. I just want to see her one more time, even if it's just a silent gaze like at the airport that day. But I know she won't come. She will never appear again. I watch the sky lighten, lean against the cold wall, and close my eyes. If Jack hadn't died, if Nancy hadn't died, would Lisa be happy? Thinking this makes my heart ache. I take a deep breath, but then, I would never have met her. Never.